Hey community, happy Canada Day. Bobby here, and I wanted to talk about a lot of stuff reflecting on today and Canada Day because there are things to be grateful for and there's things to be concerned about and there's things to try to find a way to navigate it. I think the biggest reason I wanted to share a quick video was that over the last month or so I've engaged in some really deep, thoughtful, personal conversation with people about a lot of sensitive issues, particularly some of the stuff that are affecting those of us in Canada, whether we're dealing with COVID-19 or with racial injustice crises or other sensitive issues of the day. At the same time, I'm also grateful for being part of Canada and being born here. And so I'm finding it a bit of a struggle to compartmentalize the different aspects that are both good and bad about, days like today. I normally would be like, "Hey, Happy Canada Day," and put on the face masks and or put on the stickers and the tattoos and the hats and things like that. And I think that's great. But in COVID, it's a little bit hard because there's hardly anybody out there. So we went outside and there's hardly anybody there. So we walked around. But what I want to talk about is how to navigate all that, because let me start first off. There's the idea that Canada, and national holidays or nationalistic holidays are not necessarily the best thing, and there's a lot of atrocities and things we need to look at, and I think that's important. At the same time, I've never really looked at it as more of a nationalistic pride thing compared to all else. I look at Canada as a cultural mosaic, and my reflection for today is really all about gratitude for being part of this country and being, and a little bit of a story about my background. I was the first one of my generation born here. So my parents moved from Pakistan, lived in England for a couple of years, and they came to Canada and they immigrated here. And then I was the first one of my entire generation of that family born here. And I take that as something really amazing because the life I've had, having been born here and lived here, has been something that I'm extremely grateful for. And I think it's been great for what I've been experiencing. And having been here, I was able to meet Ananda and we got married and we had these two beautiful kids. And so despite all the challenges, we've had a really blessed life here in Canada. So the number one thing for me is that I'm grateful that to have been born in Canada and to have grown up here. And, I love values of diversity and equality and freedom and, politeness and hope and all these things that I think just really make me feel that I'm part of something special. And that doesn't take away the fact that I also feel concern and disappointment and worry about all the challenges we have too, from all the different things that in the history of Canada and what came to create Canada and all of the atrocities that are going on in our history, but also today. And I think and one of the challenges for me is that is it something that's going to let me is it going to get me down today? I know some of my friends today are protesting. Some of my friends today are celebrating Canada Day. And whatever you choose to do, I think that's fine. That's the best gift that Canada can give you, which is you can go do hopefully what you want. And if you can, well then, yeah, we should fight for that. So I think today I was having trouble compartmentalizing the different things, but normally I think it's a very important thing to compartmentalize, along with my COVID coif, which is really, really big right now. And I think that, and those who are joining in, I appreciate you being part of the conversation, but Canada has a lot of good things going for it, and I always talk about the cultural mosaic that we've created here and all the different communities and cultures that have been able to thrive, and individuals that have been able to thrive, and many of the rights that a lot of minorities have been able to attain over the years. And again, it's not perfect. There's more work to be done, but I think that there's enough there that we can be grateful for. I'm grateful for being raised here. I'm grateful for my family. I'm grateful for a lot my parents and the benefit of the healthcare system. I'm grateful for a lot of things that Canada has to offer. And so I always look at Canada as like I would a birthday or a Mother's Day or an anniversary. It's a time for me to reflect on gratitude and what I feel good about, whether it's for my Mother's Day, for my mom or the moms of my life, or whether it's for a birthday, reflect on my year and what I've learned. Same with Canada Day. To me, it's not like, okay, let's make it a nationalistic kind of patriotic day. I mean, there's certainly love of country, which I think is important, but I think, I see Canada as a community. It's very diverse and there's lots to it. And so for me, that's kind of how I celebrate Canada Day. It's really about, it's Sorry, I just read a comment from Elizabeth. Can you compartmentalize a coif? Oh gosh, I can't even tell you. Okay, that was a good laugh for me. Yeah, yeah. I mean, and it's funny because I was feeling bad a little bit when I was out and about looking at the candidate stuff, and yeah, my coif, man. Like I'm dying so much to cut it. It's the longest it's been in 20 years, but I think it's hard for us. I think a lot of people are having trouble with a lot that's going on, and I think it's important to acknowledge those things. And if you want to do it more in Canada, all power to you. You should do that. I'm trying to figure out what's the best way to say Happy Canada Day, but at the same time, say I also acknowledge the challenges that we have from all the, systemic injustices that we have in our society, and all the challenges we all have as people, as communities, as governments, are and dealing with just COVID and businesses and the economy. Like, we're all going through this in a different way, and the other thing that I found really interesting was in the conversation that I've had with people, particularly about COVID and particularly about the racial injustice. There are people, with a lot of differing views. Even just wearing the face mask, wearing a face mask is something that, I see as a natural. I mean, I understand the hesitance at first. I mean, I remember hesitating about seatbelts, and I get it. But I have my mask and I carry it with me all the time. So my mask, there we go. It says, if you can read this, you're too close. That's my mask, and I carry it with me all the time because why not? I should. And now that they're mandating to wear them, for a safety reason, I'm okay with that. Like I think it's all we can do to try to be better. And this is what makes Canada great. Like, we do what we can to make our communities and our families and each other thrive, and we do the best we can. And we still allow people the right to share what they think and disagree with us and all that kind of stuff. And this kind of brings me to my second thing I want to talk about, which is there's a lot of sensitive discussions out there. And I remember about I forget how long ago it was, but when the original Black Lives Matter protest happened during Pride, and I remember they interrupted the parade, and there were a lot of people that were upset, and a lot of people were, whoa, what's going on? And what I recall very interestingly enough, that there were people, and on Facebook I call them my Fab 50 Facebook friends, but basically there's a certain group of my friends on Facebook who tend to comment and in very thoughtful ways, in very intelligent ways. They have a lot of research and data. They often will support my arguments because sometimes I don't express myself as well as they can, and I really appreciate that. And I've always loved the way they do that. And there's many of you out there. And but what was interesting is that when that first Black Lives Matter protest happened, I had some of my most favorite Fab 50, maybe my top 20 friends, who were the most thoughtful, articulate people that I know, and they were coming down strongly on either side. And I was like, wow, okay, this is clearly a very sensitive issue, and I found that really fascinating. And listening to people had actually convinced me to change my position, which was great, and I was glad to do that. And now it's changed and hopefully it's evolved. But I was really surprised to see so many people on differing sides. Now, similarly, we're having the same problem, and so what I'm seeing now is a lot of and I'll call them my Fab 50 because, again, they are the smart, thoughtful, intelligent, often academic friends who, comment and share some great insights. And, I can certainly name all you guys, and I love you all for doing that. I should probably do that because, I see it. But, I'm going to talk about two specific issues that happened in the last couple of days. One was talking about the interracial poster. It was like a racist poster about going against interracial marriages, of course, of which I'm part of one, and so it affected me greatly. But to see my friends having disagreements and or they're triggered by certain things that people say, and I think that's a really challenging thing to deal with. And so we have to find ways to connect with each other and not get triggered by that stuff, and realize that people are just pointing out certain things and they're asking questions and they don't mean it in a negative way. And then another one happened too there was a discussion around the book White Privilege, and it was called White Fragility, and people were getting upset in conversations. But if you can create the right environment and you create the trust and you facilitate, you can have really deep, powerful discussions about these things. And our conversations there went over out of control, again, among people that are among my favorite thoughtful, intelligent people, yet they were getting upset because of the sensitive issues. So, you know, so to that end, what I'm proposing for Canada Day is, and moving forward is, I'd like to create a community of people who want to have deep, powerful connection and deep conversations about the most, interesting and sensitive and challenging and deep issues of the day. And the idea would be to have like a group of like maybe 10 people on a call, and we can open up to more if there's more interest, maybe, but it's got to be facilitated, right? Because otherwise it gets out of control. And just have a conversation where we can listen to each other's points of view and facilitate. And I remember a couple of years ago, when the first 6 months of when I remember when I think Trump was coming to play, and then Doug Ford was being elected. One of my friends just doing like a dinner where you take like 8 to 10 people for dinner, and she asked me to facilitate a discussion with people around and find people with different points of view, which would be very interesting. Take some really tough topics of the day and see if we can have a thoughtful discussion, because I think it's possible. I think it's possible if we have, just like with kindergarten, rules of engagement, and we have the proper facilitation, and and if people need to leave or need to exit, they can exit and leave, and take a breath of fresh air, and that's fine. So similarly for this online thing, I'd like to propose maybe getting together with people once a week, and we just talk and we chat. And if you're interested in this idea, you can certainly let me know. And I did a post earlier yesterday. Actually, I did a post yesterday about this, about putting together just a weekly conversation, a curated conversation of connected Canadians. I mean, they can be people outside of Canada too, but I like the alliteration, so that's what I did. And yeah, I'd like to invite people to kind of join on that conversation, and if they're willing to provide value and do it in a thoughtful, meaningful way without actually, creating a lot of drama that's unneeded, and we can all act as adults, then I think, let's have this curated, amazing discussion with people about this stuff. That's really what I'd like to do. So you can always message me on this post as well as on the post I did yesterday to say that you're interested, and then I can start coming up with the right timing and start curating the conversation. And again, that's my gift to Canada and to my community of Canadians out there on Canada Day, because I want to find a way to leverage my strengths. I'm working from home, right? And where are one of my strengths? I think my strengths are connection and empathy and speaking. And so for me, I want to see if I can actually help out people by leveraging my abilities and talents to, really craft better connection, better understanding. I'm a huge opportunity to bridge the divide, bridge understanding. And I, me, I like to fight the divisiveness that's out there and the misunderstandings that are out there, and help people understand one another in terms of where they're coming from. So that's kind of what I'm doing. And then again, going back to the Canada thing, it's perfectly okay to celebrate or not celebrate Canada Day the way you wish. Canada Day is a good opportunity to identify and outline all the things that you find at issue with it. Canada is also another day to be grateful for, what you like about Canada. Or again, I think people can do what they want. What they shouldn't do is condemn those who do it in different ways. So I'm not going to, I was talking to another friend of mine, who decided to protest today, and that's fine. You know what? You want to protest? I support you, right? As your friend, as a Canadian, good for you. Good on you for doing that. Someone else wants to go celebrate with their friends and put on Canadian red and white paint, and they want to, color their hair or whatever they want to do, put on wear the t-shirts with the symbol stuff. All power to you as well. You can do that, right? And I think that's one of the gifts that we have here as part of this diverse cultural open landscape. Which again, we still have our issues, right? Still a lot of work to do, and though we can still do both we can still do each without guilt. We can still celebrate without diminishing what other people are doing, or diminishing the challenge that we see. My celebration of Canada and of gratitude does not mean that I'm diminishing other people's challenges with it. Similarly, if I'm challenging or protesting it, that does not diminish the gratitude and the connectedness I have for Canada, right? And people have to understand that big difference. And so, I just wanted to talk to you all today about that. I haven't much time to be alone in the house. I send the kids off with Ananda to a park with some friends, socially distanced, of course, to hang out. But I want to take some time now to kind of chat with you about about this, because I feel it. I feel it's a bit of a struggle, and I'm wondering how you guys deal with it. If you have things in terms of feeling guilt about celebrating, or you guilt about not protesting, or guilt about doing things in between, how do you feel? Comment below. Let me know how you're feeling, because I'm curious to know your thoughts on that. And if you're also interested in the curated connection conversations about critical and crisis issues, then let me know, and I'd love to have you join the conversation. All right, so with that, enjoy Canada Day, enjoy your loved ones, stay safe, wear a mask when you can. If you can't stay socially distant, then wear a mask. And I look forward to hearing from all of you, and then to my Fab 50 friends, I love you guys. I think you guys are so smart, so thoughtful, and so supportive, and you mean a lot to me. And when we can't have conversations that are, productive or meaningful, or, help us learn one another and learn to, be better as people, then I feel like it's lost. I'd rather have all of you unite against the other causes and fight racism and fight all the other things that I think are more egregious issues than disagreements around policy, or disagreements around certain books or links or articles and people and things like that. All right, so much love to you all. Take care. We'll talk soon.